There's nearly 678,290,000 kids under 5 around the world. But what's so important about being 5? A lot, it turns out. Children who live to age 5 are twice as likely to reach adulthood. That's why vaccines matter so much. For 40 years, Rotary and partners have delivered vaccines globally. Like here, and even here. Impressive, right? But 12.5 million children are still totally unvaccinated. Rotary knows we can find them. Because when Rotary and Indian vaccinators looked for families at bus and train stations, used motorbikes, and trekked house to house, they lowered polio cases to 0. See, it can be done, and the results are worth it. Let's ensure that all children grow up safe from preventable diseases.
Hello, hello. So I would like to recognize a club today who raised $125,000 for Polio Plus Society this year. And with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, that's $375,000. Last year, they raised a ton of money as well, and they've also raised $3 million for End Polio Now over the past 15 years. So I would like anybody and everyone from the Rotary Club of Coronado to come up and get this this plaque. Come on up. Come on up. And I saw our past district governor was here, Dan Gensler. You're gonna. He's out in the lobby. That doesn't help. So I love it when you're district governor, you can create awards. And so that's what we did. So this is for the Rotary Club of Coronado, outstanding club contribution to the Rotary Foundation Polio Plus program. So congratulations.
Dan Gensler, please make your way into the auditorium. Dan Gensler.
This has got to be the coolest. Congratulations. Dan, you get a picture with Luann and District Governor Don out there. That's great. Okay, here we go. There I am. Oh my God, they put my picture up too. Well, actually, I'm a proud member of the Rotary Club of Carlsbad High Noon, just so you know. But there are 2 Carlsbad clubs, and they're both great. So, and I'm also your District 5340 Polio Plus chair. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I guess I could use the clicker. I'm going to ask a question. How many in this room have been impacted by polio in some way, shape, or form? You've been on National Immunization Days. You've been personally impacted through your family, through health, other things. You know someone. Another question. How many people have no clue what I'm talking about? There you go. Okay, well, that's why I'm here. And polio has remained the #1 priority to eradicate polio for Rotary International as a funding. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the history because I think it's important on the history of polio and why that's important. What it is poliomyelitis, as some of us remember it. It's disabling, it's threatening disease, and it's caused by the poliovirus. It spreads from person to person and can infect your spinal cord and paralysis. So here's a little bit on the timeline. I know that Janice and Matt just got back from Egypt. If you were to go to Egypt, and you know that they actually have presentations on their walls that they didn't know it was polio, but they know that people had disformed limbs. And so it goes back as far as that, not knowing exactly the name. But in 1890, There were a couple of German physicians whose work led to the Hein-Medine disease, which became infantile paralysis, which is what some of us remember. And then in 1908, two Vienna physicians discovered polio was caused by a virus. 1916, New York City had its first polio outbreak, killing over 2,000 people. 1929, I thought this was pretty interesting. The artificial respirator for patients with paralytic polio, which in turn turned into the iron lung. Polio epidemic in the United States in 1952 became the worst outbreak in our history, with 58,000 cases reported. In 55, I think many of us remember that good year, Dr. Salk had his vaccine developed and declared safe and effective. And in 1960, the U.S. licensed the oral polio vaccine by Dr. Sabin. How many remember these kinds of iron lungs? Yeah. So intensive care medicine, so this is sort of the evolution of the treatment of polio, has its origins in its fight against polio. Most hospitals didn't have access to iron lungs. They were expensive. So a lot of money was beginning to get raised for that, and they weren't able to breathe without mechanical assistance. So these respiratory centers were developed in 1952 in Copenhagen, and those were sort of the precursor to intensive care units, which I thought was kind of interesting. And we already mentioned Dr. Salk and Dr. Sabin. That's really where the evolution of the treatment of polio came. Anyone remember the March of Dimes? Yeah. All right. So that was a precursor for us. Started by President Roosevelt to raise money for medical research and support during the recession or the Depression. 10 cents was a lot for people to give, but it was still affordable for people to give. So in 1938, $268,000 had been raised from that March of Dimes that went to the research that enabled Dr. Salk and Dr. Sabin to develop their vaccines. And in 1979, we got involved. Rotary International got involved, joined the fundraising effort. And then in 1988, there was the formation of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, the GPEI, and that includes us, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the CDC. So it is a global organization that works together to eradicate polio. And of course, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation joined us with their generous support in 2007. And as you know, there's no cure for polio. There are certain things that can be done to help prevent infections and so forth, but there's really no cure. So getting our vaccines and our kids immunized is just critical. Here's a current stat. We estimate that there are about 230,000 polio survivors right now in the United States. Many of you may or may not know that there are those that are affected with post-polio syndrome that can happen decades after they've received polio. Since 1988, 99% reduction worldwide in polio cases. Only two countries now, Pakistan and Afghanistan, are endemic, and that's where our big fight is. This is current as of a couple of weeks ago, and last week we had no cases. In the last month, we've had 3 new cases, both in Pakistan and Afghanistan. So year to date, we have 10 cases of reported world polio virus. Why do we keep at it? Why are we still raising money? And why is it important? It's still our #1 fundraising priority that we promised we would help eradicate polio. We've got 18 million people walking today because of our efforts to eradicate polio and to vaccinate children. We've gone from 125 endemic countries now down to 2, Pakistan and Afghanistan. And we've gone from 350,000 cases of paralytic polio to 10 this year, wild polio. So unless we eradicate polio, it is estimated that annually 200,000 children could be impacted a year by polio. So we need to keep at it. We've given a lot of money. You've heard these in the videos already. We've given $1.4 billion to polio eradication, and obviously with a generous match from the Gates Foundation, collectively $2.7 billion to eradicate polio. And your generosity is really what's fueled all of this. The spending, and this is going to be talked about a little bit. So where does the money go? It doesn't just go to vaccines. You can see the majority is going to Pakistan and Afghanistan. Actually, it's also going to the outbreak response. So the infrastructure that has been provided for doing the testing, for doing the research, for immunizing folks in countries in which we're not able to go into, like Pakistan and Afghanistan, there's a lot of money that is going into that to get treatment that is quick and detection that is quick. And I think the next one is I think we talked a little bit about this, top reasons. We need to improve lives, of course, invest in our future, improve child health. So when we do vaccinations, we're also looking at networks and vaccination campaigns to monitor children for other health problems, like vitamin deficiency and measles, so they can be addressed sooner. Saving money. I was interested in this one. A polio-free world will save the global economy $40 to $50 billion within the next 20 years in health costs. And I think the biggest thing is to make history. Polio eradication would be one of the history's greatest public health achievements, with polio following smallpox to become only the second human disease eliminated from the world. So I invite you all to join that effort. The next one, I believe, is a video, and this is from the GPEI, the Global Partners, Global Polio Eradication Initiative. I push this?
In 1988, the world made a promise to create a future where no child anywhere would live in fear of polio. Since then, our progress has been groundbreaking. The combined efforts of health workers and their governments, communities, donors, and partners have reduced the number of children paralyzed by polio by 99% and brought the world to the verge of ending this disease for good. Now, we are at a critical point. COVID-19 set us back, while misinformation and access issues prevent us from reaching every community with vaccines, allowing polio to persist and spread. The consequences of failure are high. We risk a global resurgence of polio and thousands more children paralyzed every year. But the opportunity to deliver on our promise of a polio-free world is enormous. Success begins with supporting the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. GPEI has continually adapted to overcome challenges, drive progress, and get us closer to zero. And its new strategy harnesses the solutions and tools we need to end polio once and for all. This includes renewed urgency, innovation, and increased collaboration to reach every lost child and focus on integrating polio vaccination into broader health services for communities at high risk of polio. Working together as leaders of polio-affected countries, donors, and partners, we can overcome the final hurdles to eradication and help prepare countries to respond to future health threats, just as GPEI responded to COVID-19. With your continued support, we will achieve a polio-free world. Let us keep our promise and make polio history together.
Yeah, I think that's a particularly interesting and effective video because it talks about where the money is going and what all of our partners are doing together. Just a little plug here at the end. You knew that was coming. InPolioNow.org, this is a generous district. We're all trying to get our clubs to give at least $1,500 each to this effort. And, all gifts are matched 2 to 1 by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Then we have the Polio Plus Society membership. I have information on that. That's a commitment of $100 or more per year until polio is fully eradicated. You get these beautiful, nice pins and a nice certificate, and you could join the Kennel Club as well for your pet and get a great End Polio Now, bandana. So with that, I thank you very much and hope you can join in this important effort. Thank you.
This is a story of historic progress, a story that doesn't exist without you. Our unifying effort in 3 decades of action demonstrates our commitment and endurance. And our progress thus far shows that a polio-free world is achievable. Individuals, clubs, partners, and governments share a collective vision to improve the health of every single child. We've eliminated polio in some of the most difficult places, overcoming obstacles and navigating complex issues. Our successes prove that polio will be eradicated, and while ending a global disease is not easy, as Rotary, we don't give up. We'll continue our fight until each child is protected. This isn't possible without you. So stay involved, keep pushing forward, engage your clubs and communities. Start a social media conversation and increase visibility on the importance of this global effort. Hold events and fundraisers on World Polio Day and throughout the year. Advocate to governments about the importance of supporting polio eradication. Make a contribution and invest in one of the largest health initiatives ever. Be a character in our story. Be the solution to our challenge. It's because of each and every one of you that we will improve our future by making polio a disease of the past. Eradication is possible, so let's keep our promise.
Wow, it's hard to come after that, but I'll try here. So I want to talk about a couple of things. Certainly the Guatemala Literacy Project and a trip that several of us were able to take in February. So there's a little bit of travel log and a little bit of history and definitely some information that I can give you about the project itself. So the Cooperative for Education is the entity that actually runs the Guatemala Literacy Project. Rotary is heavily involved, and the word I think they use is a collaborative partner. Rotary is a collaborative partner. And their mission is very simple. And in Guatemala, like a lot of countries, it would be easy to have mission creep, but I think they're laser focused on that to break the cycle of poverty through education in Guatemala. Not just teaching the kids to read, but also to break this whole thing. So a little bit of travel log. This is when we arrived in Guatemala, LAX nonstop to Guatemala City. Get there in the morning, bus to Antigua. And this is a photo I took one morning from breakfast. Fuego volcano is about 11 miles away from Antigua, and it's an erupting volcano. It last had a major eruption about in the 2018, I believe, where there were some deaths and destruction. But sitting there drinking your coffee and watching the volcano erupt was kind of a unique experience. I believe there are 3 erupting volcanoes in Guatemala, and a lot of dormant ones. The people, obviously the indigenous people are Mayan descendants. And if you see the lady up there in pink, she's on her phone, which is good. But a lot of them had phones, but they were more like burner phones. They weren't doing YouTube videos or TikTok or any of the other things. But you look at the bounty of fruits and vegetables. And Guatemala is known as the land of eternal spring. So temperate climate was amazing, and certainly all the volcanic soil and so forth. So there were about 60 of us on this trip. There were about 5 from San Diego, 4 from Orange County, and then the rest, a lot of Canadians. It was February, you could imagine why they were there. And a lot of people from the Midwest as well. So Antigua was the Spanish colonial capital of Guatemala, or actually Central America for the Spanish from the 1500s to the 1700s, and then they moved the Spanish, because of an earthquake, they moved it to Guatemala City. This is Lake Atitlan. It's the highest elevation lake in Central America, and is ringed with, it's a big caldera. It's ringed currently with 3 extinct volcanoes. Beautiful, beautiful lake. We were able to they were able to take us across and back on the tour. But amazing, beautiful, beautiful day. And Guatemala, so it's been called the island of illiteracy. It has the, I guess, the distinction of having the highest illiteracy rate in the Western Hemisphere of any country. So there's 20 indigenous languages, so many of the indigenous people can't even understand each other. So the only common language they have is Spanish. And that Castilian is, in other words, that's the Spanish that's spoken in the rest of Central America and South. So all these little colors and all these words, and these are the languages that these people speak. And if you superimpose the topographical map of Guatemala on it, you'd see that that's basically terrain. There's extinct volcanoes, there's valleys, there's whatever. I mean, you can't walk from one to the other, directly. So that's part of the problem. Also poverty. 1 in 3 currently are illiterate. When the GLP started, it was 2 out of 3 indigenous adults were illiterate. And now that was, they started their efforts in 1997, followed by a treaty after a 36-year civil war between basically the indigenous people and the government. They estimate that 200,000 people disappeared or were massacred. 90% of them were indigenous people. So in 97, they were certainly coming off of a major thing. So the trip we went on was every year the project basically re-ups their agreements with the schools and so forth, so that we went kind of on a tour. And you may recognize some of those people and thank Philippe for some of these photos. And that picture on the left with Dugan is our famous arch in Antigua. So here we are at schools, and there I am, and you can kind of get an idea about the statural height of most of the indigenous people. I was teaching her, I think those of you from Texas, the Texas two-step. I don't know if she appreciated that. And Alana from the Santee Club there was, I'm not sure what she was doing. She was a good cheerleader for the whole thing, if you know Alana. Here we are at a school also they were entertaining us with, is that a marimba? I forget the guy went out, but again, this was a technological education. Their GLP sponsors or helps start computer programs in the high schools. And this is an elementary, teaching the kids obviously to read. In Guatemala, how can I put this? Okay, their education is free through the 6th grade. A lot of kids drop out at 2nd grade, so that is not enforced. And a lot of the schools are certainly crowded. They have a morning session, then they have an afternoon session with a whole different set of kids. The GLP, their program, I believe they call it the Spark program. Make sure that these classrooms have books. They also have programs where they teach the teachers how to teach. In Guatemala, if you have a high school education, you're qualified to teach. You can get a job as a teacher. Qualified is another thing, but they teach the teachers how to help the kids learn faster. So they're learning Spanish. You know, if they don't know Spanish, they can't get out of their valley, mountain, whatever. So we visited various schools. And the kids, cute. I took the one on the left. I swear if we would have been there another 5 minutes, my wife would have taken that baby home, cute. Okay, here we are at a high school giving out different little things for the kids to use. And on the left is Joe Behringer. He's the co-founder and current executive director. And again, 25 years, 1997, and this is Howard Loeb, I believe. He's their technology guy to help set up computer centers. You may recognize the lady on the right. She came down for a couple of days. Jennifer Jones, the past RI president. Lady on the left is Gabby Moreno. She's a Guatemalan singer. And there she is greeting the crowd. And these are just various pictures and so forth. So again, the thing, how can you get involved? Participate in a global grant. There's a current one open, so you can call the company, and the deadline is December 1st. You can sponsor a student. Again, go to the website. There are a lot of interesting things. I think our club has sponsored a RISE student, which is a high school student. It's a $960 fee, I think, per year. Or you can volunteer. And so the company gives 4 tours a year. We were well taken care of. We were on this reinstitution tour. There are graduation tours. There are other, again, go to the website. It's excellent. There are YouTubes of Joe having a Zoom meeting with the Rotary Club on the West Coast. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans, cure disease, and create equality. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. We're changing lives and creating opportunities through our groundbreaking work in clean water, sanitation, and hygiene. Our global grants help communities create and maintain water resources close to home, because when clean water is within a child's grasp, so is a safe and promising future. We're committed to supporting sanitation projects that meet the needs of women and girls. Our programs provide modern facilities and hygiene training to cultivate long-term health and wellness. From safe access to water to private toilets and programs to teach healthy habits, we're working in homes, clinics, and schools to help families live healthy lives. Rotary Club members unite to create a world where water, sanitation, and hygiene are cornerstones of self-confidence and dignity, well within the reach of families who need it most. With more than a century of experience in service, Rotary is uniquely positioned to meet the challenges of today and fulfill the promise of a peaceful, healthy tomorrow. Your contribution to the Rotary Foundation keeps families connected to a world of good. Every gift is an action that speaks volumes across classrooms, communities, and continents. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
Good morning. I'm the first Steve Lilly on your program this morning. And I want Janice to know I really appreciate her correcting that, because I panicked a little bit when I saw my name on the second presentation. So I am from the Rotary Club of Vista, and the Rotary Club of Vista is one of the smaller clubs. We have 22 members. We our informal motto is small but mighty, and our members really prefer hands-on projects. So I would venture that we could compete with most clubs in the district in the number of projects per year per capita that we are involved in. So I have to tell you, though, that this is the program that our club offers that many of our members look forward to every year and say is the most fun thing that we do. Vista Unified School District, little background, is a district of about 20,000 students, K-12, and of those students, about 50% come from families of low socioeconomic status, and 80% are what are termed in minority students. That sounds like an oxymoron, 80% minority students, but that's the nature of our district. And we have, as a club, formed a very cooperative relationship over time with the district. We are partners with them at the middle school, high school, and elementary level. The school district has a corporate membership in our club and designates an administrator to be an active member of the club. The Vista Teachers Association has 2 corporate memberships in our club, and their president and their secretary are active participants in the club. So we have really formed a mutual relationship for the benefit of Vista students. Because of the nature of the district, Vista says that reading proficiency at an early age is one of their highest priorities. And we partner with them in trying to help make reading fun and make reading an engaging activity at a very young age, so that students will become familiar with reading, will become familiar with what it means to own your own books and to engage in reading as an everyday activity. We've done this program, I think, for the better part of 15 years now. It's always been with the support of a district grant. And as I say, it's one of our club members' favorite activities. So what do? We start by ordering a book for every first grader in Vista Unified School District. That's approximately 1,400 students in 57 classrooms across 15 elementary schools. We always order hardback books so that they can endure the rigors of being owned by a first grader and taken home. We have a sticker party every year for club members where we get together and we put a Rotary Club of Vista sticker in the front of every book. Now, at 1,400, you think that would take a long time, but if you have a lot of hands, it makes the work easy. Then we schedule visits to every classroom, every first grade classroom in the district, where a Rotary member, or sometimes Rotary member spouses also want to get involved, go to the school, read the book to the kids in the class, and give each student their own copy of the book to take home. When I do that, I always tell them that it's their job. I'm sorry, when I do that, I always tell them that it's their job to take the book home and share it with their brothers and sisters and their parents, especially their younger brothers and sisters, to get those preschoolers interested in reading as well. It's amazing because every year we have multiple students who tell us, this is the first book that I've ever owned for my very own. And to have that experience for a student is very motivational for them in terms of their reading. But pictures are worth 1,000 words, so let's take a look. This is our sticker party this year. We have pizza and soda and water and beer, but not too much beer that the stickers go in crooked. And people just have a lot of fun doing this. And as I say, you think it would take forever to put stickers in 1,400 books, but we do it in a couple of hours. This is Stephanie Jackal, who's one of a longtime member of the Vista Rotary Club, and first in line to volunteer every year. This is Debbie King, our current president, and we have to block out the faces of the kids because we can't possibly get parental permissions for pictures for that many kids. And it's really a shame that we have to block out their faces, because to see the faces of the kids when you're reading to them and their inquisitiveness, and they notice things about the book that you haven't even noticed yet and point it out while you're reading. But this is an example. Sometimes when a school has just 2 classrooms, they will bring all of those students into a common area and we read one time for them. And that's what Debbie's doing here. This is a spouse of a club member who volunteers every year and can't wait for the activity. And this is Carrie Avila, who is our Vista Teacher Association president. And VTA is such an important partner in this project because they order the books, they organize the schedule for reading at the schools, they organize signups for members, and they are really the driving force behind us being able to get this done every year. And that's just an old guy who's having fun reading. So if you want to have a good time and do some good at the same time, and if you're having a bad day, there's nothing like being face to face with 21st graders. And I would recommend it to everybody. If you want any more information, it's very easy. Our email is rotaryclubofvista@gmail.com. Email me, I'll get the email, and I'll follow up with you. Thank you.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans, cure disease, and create equality. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. Our vision and commitment to finding solutions keeps us connected to those who need it most, changing lives and creating opportunities with our groundbreaking work in education and literacy. There are more kids enrolled in school now than at any other point in human history, which is why supporting teachers is key. In classrooms, our innovative approach creates critical thinkers and big dreamers with the skills to achieve. Our global grants train teachers to use materials, new methods, and technology to inspire and energize students of all ages. We believe education has the power to lift families up, make real change, modify behavior, create healthy habits, and open minds. We believe that education creates security and safety in families so they can support, provide, and make informed, empowered decisions. Your contribution keeps students far and wide connected to a world of good. Every donation is an action that speaks volumes across classrooms, communities, and continents. Because the distance between an act of good and the lives it touches isn't as vast as you might imagine. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
Greetings again, everyone. How are we enjoying all these fantastic speakers we've heard so far? I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our speakers and the several that have yet to come for the amazing presentations, all the time and preparation they've put into being here for you all today, and for keeping to the schedule so that we haven't had to have any of those Oscar-style hooks happen today. And they were warned that would happen. So thank you again to our speakers. I also wanted to give you an update on the Ukrainian treats outside. Mike Whitehurst tells me there's quite a few left, so we've expanded eligibility, if you will. If you are a member of the Paul Harris Society or the Polio Plus Society, or you are signing up for that today, you may also go and pick up one of those take-home treats, and they are wonderful. So you've heard, while it's not an emphasis of what we're talking about today, you've heard a lot about the opportunities to travel through Rotary internationally with our partners. You've heard about Guatemala, East Africa, and there's also the opportunity to travel with polio through National Immunization Days. And I'm going to talk to you about yet one other opportunity that we have to travel through Rotary. This is a program called Friendship Exchange. Now, this has been on hold for a number of years for some pandemic, which I'm sure you can all name, but we are revitalizing it. So for those of you that may not know what a Friendship Exchange is, it's an international program where Rotary members from one district go and visit another district for a period of days, and that other district hosts them, and then there is a reciprocal trip. The beauty of this is you get to stay in other club members' homes, go to their Rotary clubs, see their local culture. It helps to broaden our international understanding. Wait, I should back up for just a minute. They don't have to be international. There are districts that do domestic exchanges, but our district has always chosen to do international exchanges because, in my opinion, and maybe the opinion of many others, those are the most interesting. It gives you the opportunity to learn about region's food, people, languages, culture, history, build enduring friendships that continue to last. I have Rotary Exchange friends from several different places that we stay in touch with on a regular basis. You also have the opportunity to get involved and observe the projects going on in their district, and it continues to establish and strengthen that foundation for peace and service between nations. So we are planning a Rotary Friendship Exchange. We will have a group from our district going to southern India in January of 2025. This will be an approximately 10-day trip. And while on this exchange, there's the opportunity to visit the Pongal Festival, which is one of the big Indian festivals that happens. And that will be the dates the 14th, the 17th. We haven't exactly set the specific, leave and return dates. And we'll be flying into Chennai, which is at the southern tip, you can see there, and spending time really south of Chennai because that's at the northern end of District 3000 where we'll be visiting. We'll see a number of projects which our district and clubs have been involved in, which include low-cost dialysis centers, some mental health projects, and water and sanitation projects in schools. They've also now got several environmental projects going on, which I'm particularly interested in seeing. So I have a little bit of a photo journal from this part of the world for you to entice you. This area is famous for their sand paintings, which anytime you show up and arrive, you get these beautiful welcome signs, which are handmade. They may dress you up a little bit unusual to us in native cultural dress. And no, I don't know how to don a sari. The women help get me dressed when I do that. This is a picture of a low-cost dialysis center, which our club helped participate in and fund as a global grant project. This is a mental health project, which we started. I started this with my classmate as a district governor. It was the first mental health global grant in the Rotary world. In fact, when we put the application in for this grant, Alan, you're going to love this. They told us that mental health did not fall under the disease prevention and treatment umbrella. So we've come a long way since then, but the projects are up and running now. Also have an opportunity to participate in some youth and some Rotaract. This was a RILA opportunity, and if any of those are going on while we're there, we can participate in that. Here is my dear husband, Matt, at one of the mental health facilities, and you can see the joy on these people's faces, and we didn't have to block those out because they're all adults, and they couldn't come after us, they're too far away. Here's some of the healthcare providers. This part of India is particularly fascinating because all of the women wear colorful saris all of the time. So it's always just brilliant no matter where you go. And some of the most beautiful children in the world. I love this picture so much. They're just so adorable. Culture, this is actually women making fuel out of cow dung. I found this really that stack in the middle, those are all cow dung patties, and here they are loading around carts to take off and sell as fuel. So all kinds of little interesting cultural things that can be observed in that part of the country. I always get asked about costs. The best answer is uncertain, and it's not going to get much more certain than that. Certainly airfare to the facility is on your own. When in country, we will typically be hosted by families, so there won't be a lot of lodging and probably minimal food expenses, but there may be some other costs, and that will remain uncertain up until, when we're there. Now, in addition, we will have a team then to come visit our district. And I was talking with Diane, we're going to shoot maybe for the end of February of 2025, but it may be in the fall of 2024 in September or October. That is yet to be finalized. And especially for those that go to India, we expect reciprocation when the team comes here. Obviously, if they host us, we need to host them. So we'll be looking for the people that participate to help with that, as well as any number of Rotarians in our group. So if you or any of your other Rotarians, family, friends are interested in participating, please get in touch with me, and I'm happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans and foster opportunity. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. We choose to see the world for what it could be. Through our commitment to advancing economic and community development around the world, we've seen its boundless potential firsthand. Thanks to Rotarians like you, we've seen the number of people living in poverty worldwide drop by more than 50% in the last 20 years. Our efforts are fostering entrepreneurship and economic self-sufficiency to create lasting change. We're altering outlooks and feeding communities in need and giving families a viable path out of poverty with vocational training, mentorship, and access to well-paying jobs. We believe that effective humanitarian organizations operate at the intersection of commerce and cause, allowing us to channel community and worldwide resources that open new doors. Today, we invite you to see what's possible. Every gift is an action that speaks volumes. When we take action, we change the world. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
Well, hello, my name is Martha Deichler, and I'm from Borrego Springs, which is, if you don't know, it's 2 hours that way in the middle of the desert. And I feel like I've been invited to play in the big leagues, and I'm not a big league player. And I'm wondering, why in the heck did Janice invite me? But now I know. We are a tiny club year-round. Maybe we're lucky to have 6 or 7 people because the summers are just a little bit unbearable. And then when the snowbirds come to town, we swell up to a club of maybe 15. I was glad to hear that Vista was just a little bit bigger. But I think the reason you invited me, Janice, even though I'm very humbled, is because even a small club can have a big impact with this grant. And I'm here to talk about our tiny town. We have less than 350 students, K through 12. I'm the former superintendent. And I just couldn't believe when I started working there how many people from the outside come to work in Borrego Springs when our students need to be the ones working in these jobs. Because we're very isolated. It's an hour and 15 minutes to community college in Coachella or Brawley. So always thinking about our students, this is how I use this wonderful grant. So this is, currently I'm the school community liaison, and this is our high school second year receiving this grant called Creating Opportunities for Our High Schoolers. This grant allows our high school juniors, usually there's about 15 of them, to earn 2 very professional and highly prized certificates distributed by NAI, which is the National Association of Interpreters. This is not language interpreting, this is interpreting your place, understanding your special place. I'll tell you about that in a minute. I think I was supposed to go to the next slide. Thank you. Technology is kind of weak in Borrego. So we're only the second high school in the United States to offer this course to juniors. And there's 2 certificates, and I'm going to say the shortened version. There's a certificate of interpretive hosting and then one for guiding, CIH and CIG. These students have to pass a year-long course involving reading and researching about the field of interpretation, doing mini simulations, role-playing, and the hardest part, they have to do a 15-minute presentation to the class on an area of their interest, as an interpreter in a park would do. And the big thing that we do is field trips to our area. And I just said that interpretation doesn't mean language, it's understanding your place. It includes public speaking, knowing your audience, communication skills, dealing with difficult customers, but really understanding your place. And in case you don't know, Anza Borrego State Park is a park of over 600,000 acres, the 3rd largest state park in the United States. And people come from all over the world. The only people who come in the summer are the Germans and the French and the Dutch. I don't know how they can survive in the 115, but they do. And when we have a super bloom, which is we call Flowergeddon, our town is overrun by thousands and thousands of tourists. But what's amazing is our students don't know anything about the town. Their parents don't know anything about the town because it's a cultural thing, which I'll explain in a minute. And they say, well, Ms. Deichler, these people are stopping us on the way home from school and saying, where are the wildflowers? And they said, we don't even know. What kind of wildflowers? Or where's Palm Canyon Campground? Where's Fonts Point? Our students do not understand this vital, incredible area where they live. So some people think of Borrego Springs because we have Rams Hill Fazio Golf Course and La Casa de Zorro. They think that we're an affluent community, but we are not. Of the 43 school districts in San Diego County, we're on the lowest. We're kind of challenged with another school district whose name I won't say, for having the highest number of English language learners and children living in poverty. And the reason our students don't know about this place is their parents come to Borrego Springs for one reason: work. Work in the fields, work in the golf courses, or the restaurants and hotels. And they don't have the luxury or the time or language skills to learn about the place where they live. And then, as I mentioned, every season I see all these people I don't know working in the park, working in the Anza Borrego Foundation, working in the stores. And I'm thinking, why can't our students be doing those jobs? So while I was superintendent 4 years ago, I collaborated with the Borrego Village Association, which works to create Borrego Springs as a gateway community to the park. And we created this course for our students. It was a CTE, Career Tech course for interpretation. And we created it with the NAI. And it's a one-year class taught by a trained instructor who happens to be living in our town. And in their second year, in their senior year, they also intern in various areas of the park and in our town. So, first thing we did, how come I'm the only one having trouble with this? Next. First thing we did was we wrote another grant to get every student a pair of Merrill hiking boots. This is through a great store we have in Borrego Springs, Borrego Outfitters, a little plug for them, because it was imperative to get our kids outside and teach them about this special place and the surrounding areas that attract so many tourists every year. And in the process, teaching them communication and job skills. Next. So we headed out. You might recognize this. This is the Salton Sea, one of the most misunderstood areas in San Diego County, but geologically so much tied into Borrego Springs. Students had never been there. They think of the Salton Sea as just this dirty, dying, smelly place where nobody wants to go. So we're introducing them to an area of town, or area of our area that's dynamic and very much related to Borrego Springs. Next. Then it was off to the geothermal mud pots percolating in the Salton Sea area. You might know this is the hotbed for lithium. Again, introducing our students to a world around that they knew nothing about. Next. You might know this. How many of you have been to Borrego Springs? Oh my gosh! I'm preaching to the choir. What is this then, folks? Hey, who said it? You get a prize. I'll find one. Oh, one of those nice Ukrainian goodies. This is Fonts Point, one of the most iconic places in Borrego Springs to view the Badlands. I mean, people get married here. It's so, and they get engaged here. It's such a beautiful place. Only one or two of our students had ever been there. It does take a good vehicle to get there. But what a shame that they live in this beautiful place and they don't know anything about it. Can anybody tell me, boys and girls, the soil in the Badlands, our students learned this, where did it come from? What? Well, that's a good try. Don't tell me you're a geologist. Well, this is the guts of the Grand Canyon. You know, we all look at the hole and we never wonder, where did all that dirt go? So our students were thrilled with that. Everybody heard of the Grand Canyon. And one of the many years that the Colorado River ran this way, it deposited, well, I'm getting into geology now, but our students are here not having never been to Fonts Point and learning what a beautiful place it is. Next. Where's this, boys and girls? Split Canyon, fabulous, fabulous. Traveled and visited by thousands of people every year. Not one of our students had ever been there. So we had professional geologists explaining all this, and our kids are going, wow, this is in our backyard. We didn't know about it. I might add that after visiting these places, many of our students tell us that they went home, got their parents, and on a Saturday or Sunday, they were able to visit. So again, another benefit of this program. Next. Our students experience top-notch interpreters at work in our visitor center who modeled good interpretation, which is engaging your audience, provoking them to become involved, ask questions about the desert, getting them to know more about their place, the many facets of this beautiful place where we live. So these students then, after having this experience, got on the other side of the desk and they had to entertain questions from out-of-town visitors, everything from where's the best place to see the wildflowers to what's the best restaurant in Borrego Springs. That they can answer. So they had to step out of their comfort zone, step up to the counter, and interact. It was a scary skill for many of our adolescents. Next. Much time was spent with other park interpreters, again, rangers who model the art of interpretation, educating our students about our local gem of a park and all the various job opportunities there. And the next picture is just another picture of a ranger interpreter and learning all about the place where they call home. It's their backyard. Next. And at the end of the year, our students were awarded 2 certificates, and the certificates are what this grant covered because they were costly through the NAI. Next. That's Moses, and this is Vanessa. Just want to tell a quick story. Moses, the picture before, as soon as he got his certificate at the end of his junior year, he applied for a job in a brand new restaurant opening up, and he was hired. And soon after that, the owner said to me, my gosh, that kid has great communication skills and he's so personable. And so he said that to Moses, and Moses said, well, I learned it in the CIH class. So the kids were making the direct connection. Let's see. So these certificates are very professional, and students had to pass a series of tests, do a presentation to obtain them, and the NAI had to certify each student's progress. I think next, please. So it was very exciting to see our students interning in their senior year and then applying for jobs in our local park and places of hospitality, the water district, the local businesses. But I want to share some really good stories. You know, we're small. We less than 100 kids in the high school, 30 in each class, 19, let's say, in one year we're in the CIH class. And I think my favorite story is, well, I got too many. So one of my stories is in her senior year, Chantel, who had passed the class in her junior year, went to a job interview up at Rams Hill. They have a big job interview and lots of locals go and join. She took her 2 certificates with her. And when she said to the HR gal, I have my certificate of interpretation and hosting, she got the job immediately. So the town recognizes these skills. Another great story, Jimena, a student in her junior year, had to do a presentation, and the day of it, she called me from the bathroom crying. She says, I can't do it, Ms. Deichler. I'm going to throw up. I am so scared. So I said, don't worry, honey. I'll come down and get you. So I went down. Obviously, I'm helping the teacher with this class this year. So I went down, walked her down, and what I do with students who are so afraid of public speaking, I stand next to them. And I said, if you get scared, I'll just keep reading your notes until you can jump back in. She made it through her speech, did a fabulous job, and her senior year, she became student body president and was talking in front of everybody. Great story. But it even gets better. Wait, there's more. She loved interning in the park her senior year with archaeology and anthropology. There is a whole section of scientists in this park. So now she is going to UC Irvine to get a degree in anthropology. I am so thrilled. And that was my degree too. And wait, there's one more good story. I love my students. Nikki, who was a lost soul, very little parent guidance, not enough, even with scholarships, she would never be able to go to college right now. Brilliant, though. Really poor interpersonal skills. She, during her junior year, blossomed, came out of her shell, learned how to talk to people with all these experiences, and she just got hired, and I'm going to try not to cry, she just got hired by the park to sit in that little kiosk where everybody comes in to camp, and she does all the paperwork and greets them. And for her to have that job after the kind of student she was as a junior is close to a miracle. So she has found her voice, and she's doing very well as a park, I think it's called the host person, who meets the people and signs them in. So there are many stories, but I just am so grateful for this grant that enables our little town to have a big effect on a few kids. Thank you.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans, cure disease, and create equality. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. Our vision and commitment to finding solutions provides access to high-quality care so vulnerable mothers and children can live longer and grow stronger. Rotary members worldwide work to improve maternal health and reduce child mortality by increasing access to essential medical services and implementing life-saving programs. We're providing comprehensive maternal care, preventative screenings, and family planning that empower women and girls to take charge of their own destinies. Our efforts aren't just changing lives. They're saving lives and strengthening families by training birth attendants, providing prenatal care, newborn immunizations, and facilitating mobile health clinics. Thanks to Rotarians like you, patients are receiving the practical and compassionate treatment they deserve, so that babies are born safely into the arms of healthy mothers. Your contribution keeps mothers and babies far and wide connected to a world of good. Every gift is an action that speaks volumes in delivery rooms, communities, and across continents. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
Well, let's do a heart check right now. Let's find out, how's your heart working? Do a check, all right? Pulse, 60 beats a minute, 5 to 6 liters of blood moving around. All right, if it's good, raise your right hand. Love it, love it. Okay, we're going to talk about hearts, but not hearts here in this country. We're going to talk about hearts in emerging countries. And we're going to talk about healing them. And you're going to look at me and you're going to say, not possible. There's too many things that have to be done. Well, I'm Steve Cross. And I am past president of Loya Sunrise Rotary. And I signed in 2009 some of the first checks under the guidance of the godmother of A Gift of Life, Estelle Ebert, who's here to answer questions themselves. Where did those checks go? They went to Gift of Life, and then the money and the equipment went to the country of Uganda, which you heard a little bit about. Uganda has 4% of its roads paved, and we're doing complicated, complex heart surgeries there. Gift of Life's mission is to heal little hearts. Simple as that. The mission is to develop pediatric centers of excellence in countries of focus. And these countries of focus are important because they've been pre-selected, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. It's not limited to infant and juvenile heart care. If you're born in the US, well, your odds are good. We're so casual and so assuming that our medical systems will take care of every child and every need. Not really true in this country, but certainly a vast difference when you go to an emerging country itself. Worldwide, 93% of the children born have no access to health care. If you're born in any of these countries on the bottom, your chances are near zero of getting effective health care itself. So Gift of Life selected 10 countries to be countries of focus. What's needed for a country of focus? They have an absolute dire need for pediatric health care. And that is critically important. So how do they do it? They develop a country-specific strategy. And the country-specific strategy is simple. They're going to treat as many children as possible. Let's talk about a journey of one young lady. Her name is Nurlan. She was age 2. She's born in the country of Yemen. She had multiple heart defects, and she traveled from Yemen through Saudi Arabia, the length of Jordan to get to Amman, to a hospital. When she arrived, by the way, do you know how long that drive is? It's 30 hours. All right? You want to picture what it's like? Remember the movie Lawrence of Arabia? And Lawrence stands up, tells his troops, "We're going to Aqaba." Aqaba's on the Red Sea. You have to travel all the way north to Amman, Jordan. That's what the road is like. She gets there. She had multiple heart surgeries. She arrives blue. They treat scoliosis. They treat other things, her feet deformities, all of those things to help this young lady. She's now near normal and functioning exceptionally well. Yemen to Jordan. So once the country is of focus, then they get to a country, what we refer to as core status. To be a core status program, you have to develop a sustainable program, sustainable. And it has to be selected by a staff of clinical team, and then the board of directors has to approve. The goal, to maximize the capacity to treat more children. Then to go from core program and sustainability to legacy status, you need a successful core program. You need the full backing of the government and the full backing of a local hospital. And that hospital has to have a fully trained team, inspired, competent, and cohesive, and state-of-the-art equipment. In a country, in this case, 4% of the roads are paved. And dedicated facilities for the sole use of the Gift of Life staff. Back one. Too happy. Remember that program in Uganda I signed the checks for? 5,857 children have been treated since 2009. We're talking about a scalable program, that scale. We're talking thousands of heart surgeries. El Salvador, another legacy program. Over 2,500 children treated since 2010. Sustainable, year on year. That's what we always look for in growth. Look at emerging core programs. Jamaica, 1,031 children treated. Again, dedicated to beginning new programs in countries where significant challenges occur. Bolivia, in 2019, 182 children have been treated, and I can tell you that that program is going to continue to rapidly emerge. Again, all functioning with the Gift of Life program. From the time we started the program to the break is about 99 minutes. During that time, Gift of Life provided life-saving treatment, hearts treatment, to some child somewhere in the world. Rotary grants since 2013, almost $15 million in 20 emerging countries, sponsored by 332 Rotary clubs. So I ask you to please join us to provide life-saving cardiac care to a child. You know, you've come this way, all this way to the seminar. You're sitting here, you're listening to these programs. Think about coming a little further to talk to us, Estelle, Loretta, or Randy, about saving a child's life. Sunrise Rotary since 2009 has used district director grants, $10,000 to provide these projects. The Rotary has treated over 1,000 children with life-saving treatment and equipment. And the Sunrise Rotary has received around $1 million from the Rotary Foundation for life treatment and equipment. So please join us with life-saving cardiac care to a child. You know, hope is a good thing, maybe the best. So think about talking to us about life-saving heart treatment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I feel like it's late enough in the day that I can say that now. My name is Laura Mello. That's a very old picture. I am a past president of the Rancho Bernardo Sunrise Rotary Club. I am also the major gift officer for the Rotary Foundation. I cover a territory that is south and east of LA, the state of Arizona, and Hawaii. So terrible location for me to be working. But what does that really mean? My job is to support Rotarians in finding their impact, these amazing projects you've heard about, and finding ways to fulfill and create that change throughout the world. So technically that's my job. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about endowment and planned giving and what will be your legacy. So I'm a major gift officer. What does that mean? Well, Rotary identifies a major gift of a one-time or a planned future gift of $10,000 or more. A planned gift is basically a way of saying, I want to give $10,000, $100,000, but what's the smartest way for me to do that? Is it utilizing an asset? Is it making a plan? What makes sense for me in my financial picture? So it's strategic charitable planning that takes what's important to you, your values, and it lines it up with your finances to accomplish a meaningful impact. So the amazing thing about the Rotary Foundation is that it is built to support you Rotarians, what you want to fulfill, what you want to see change in the world. And so there's lots of ways that you can do that through a directed gift, which means here's my money, here is my gift. I would like to designate it to support maternal and child health. Use my money and go find grants that are doing great work and deploy it. It's usually spent within 2 years. The other option is a named endowment fund. And what that means is here is my gift. Please take that principal amount that $25,000 I gave you, and invest it. And every year, take those earnings and go out and find the grants that are important to me in an area that's an area of focus, one or two that are important to me, and continually support those programs forever. So endowment has cut. When I worked previously, I worked as a director of gift planning, and I would say the word endowment. People go, no. I'm not a wealthy person. I'm not a Bill Gates. I don't. That's not me. Endowment is just a fancy way of saying, instead of my gift being used all at once, use it in perpetuity. I want to create sustainable support for generations to come. Anyone here support? I mean, I have Rotary Direct. Yes, right? Set it and forget it. It's amazing. It's like the same thing, but when you're gone. It's basically saying, take my money and continue my annual support of the programs in Rotary that are important to me long after I'm gone. But guess what? I can also do it while I'm living too. And so, you know what? I want to do that gift now. I want to create my legacy now. What that does is it creates opportunities for Rotarians like us in the future to do amazing things. The grants that we get to be a part of are partially funded from past Rotarians who created that legacy. And that money is now coming back to us and in our clubs and in our districts. So smart ways to make a major gift happen. Some people say, well, I would, love to write you a $10,000 check, $100,000 check, Laura, it's just not really in my income budget right now. So there's ways that you can kind of look outside the box to accomplish smart ways of giving. Things like using long-term appreciated stock to avoid those capital gains. If you are, as I like to say, one of our more mature members and over the age of 70 and a half, and you have that pesky required minimum distribution, you can send it directly to the Rotary Fund. And talking with your financial advisor can be really beneficial to your tax planning. Donor advised funds. I love donor advised funds. But you put the money there for a reason. Use it. You don't need to keep a big balance there. If you find something you're passionate about, use that money. Make that gift. Create that change. The other thing that Rotary does is we do pledges. So if you say, I want to be a major donor, I want to do that gift, I want to create a named endowed fund, I want to be part of this, but it's not going to happen this year. You can talk to someone like me to create a pledge and say, I'm going to give this much over the next few years to hit that goal because that's important to me, but I can't do it all today. We'll find a way to support you and what is important to you. So this one's my favorite, coming from gift planning. People would say, well, I really would love to support, the Rotary Foundation or someone or the organization, when I die, but I don't want to pay an attorney. And I understand. I'm a fan of attorneys personally. They do great work. But here are easy ways that you can leave an estate gift that you can name the Rotary Foundation in your estate without involving an attorney. If you have a bank account, that extra account, that in case of emergency account that you or your heirs don't need, put the Rotary Foundation as a beneficiary. Same with an investment account. Retirement accounts, wonderfully tax efficient during your lifetime. Terribly tax inefficient once you pass. Your heirs have to pay income on it. Nonprofits don't have to pay income. Leave those taxable estate gifts to the Rotary Foundation. Life insurance policy, annuities, donor advised funds. You need to have an ultimate beneficiary in your donor advised fund. And most people don't. They're set up at the end of the year for tax planning strategies, but that conversation never happens. Where is that balance going to go once you pass? Why not the Rotary Foundation? Why not somewhere that's important to you? But why Rotary? So why is the Rotary Foundation a worthy cause? Why is this a place to make change and put your money? This absolutely blew me away in the best way possible. So last year alone, so 22-23, so I'm going to take a little credit because I was president during that year. So, nearly $70 million was given out in global grant funded alone, only in global grants, not including district grants, not including other projects. This is global grants alone, nearly $70 million. That is your gifts at work. These are boots on the ground. These are other clubs around the world taking your gifts, your investment, your impact, and making change. I am a visual person, So I thought that, oh, I did have a video right after this to my back office. Do we have the video or no? That's not my video. It's a video in between in my slides. No? Okay, we don't have to do it if we don't need to. We can send it out later. Okay, then we'll just skip that part because we're going to flow with it. So, my question to you today is, what is your legacy? When you think about your experience with Rotary, I've been a Rotarian for, I think I counted almost 14 years, 13, 14 years maybe. I've built houses in Tijuana. I've paid for schooling fees in South Africa. I've done Toys for Tots. These are my daughters. They're not random children. That's both of them they're both Paul Harris fellows. And then my niece, I drag her into it too, Toys for Tots. I have been a part of amazing projects over the years. And each one of them was driven by someone else in my club or someone else in my district. And for me, people talk about their Rotary moment. Like I'm in Rotary. I've been in for 14 years. I get what Rotary does. But I remember when COVID hit and I was locked at home with 2 little kids, working full time, and my husband's a firefighter paramedic, so he's out on the front line, and I felt completely helpless. Being in Rancho Bernardo, we're a retirement community. We have our whole community's high risk. What do I do? How do I don't know what to do. First call I made was to Jeb Bakke, who was our club president at the time. What do we do? I went to Rotary, and we did things. We gave meals to frontline workers at retirement communities who were having to work double shifts to keep people separated and healthy. We were supporting small businesses. When there is a crisis, I go to Rotary. Rotary is my substance. I know that my money going to Rotary is going to do amazing things. And I've had those opportunities because past Rotarians have made gifts, have invested in the future of Rotarians like me. So I can't write a $10,000 check right now. I could, but my husband wouldn't be happy. So for us, naming the Rotary Foundation in our estate plan made sense. This is us putting in writing what was important to us. And I did it as a thank you. Thank you for who I am as a person I am who I am because of Rotary, but also because of my 2 girls. I don't know what the world's going to look like in 20 years. It's a little scary to think about. But I have no doubt that with every single problem, whatever is going on, Rotarians will be at the forefront. Rotarians will be doing the good work. And so our gift is to invest in that next generation, those next Rotarians. So when you think about your experience in Rotary, everything you've got to be a part of, been able to be a part of, and what that future looks like, I ask you to think, what is